Hello, sixth graders. How are you doing? So, welcome to the science lecture video number 4. In the previous videos, we were talking about plant reproduction and in specific sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Flowering plants are plants that grow seeds in their flowers. How do flowers do that? Let's remember together the flowers parts that help in plants reproduction. I'll start first with the colored parts of a flower. Each colored part is a petal, and the group of petals is called the corolla. The corolla's role is to attract pollinators, animals such as bees, butterflies, since petals have beautiful colors and beautiful smells. Flowers have also leaf-like structures that protect the flower as it grows. Each one of these leaf-like structures is called a sepal. The group of sepals is the calyx. The flower shown is a perfect flower. Why do we consider it as, or why is this flower classified as a perfect flower? Yes, because it shows both organs, the female reproductive organ and the male reproductive organ. The male reproductive organ, the stamen, is made of two parts. The filament, it's the stalk holding the anther. So the anther and the filament together form the stamen, which is the male reproductive part. The anther of the stamen produces pollen grains. The female reproductive organ is made of three different parts: the stigma, the style, and the ovary holding the ovules or the female eggs inside. Reproduction starts when a pollinator moves pollen grains from the stamen to the pistil, from the anther of the stamen to the stigma of the pistil. As you can see in this figure, this process or this movement is called pollination. So again, when pollen grains are moved from the male anther to the female stigma, we say that this is pollination. Pollination is the first step of the reproduction process. What is the second step? Pollen grains land on the sticky stigma. They feed on sweet things found on the sticky stigma. A pollen grain presents a pollen tube and produces sperms. When a sperm meets with an ovule, will have a seed. So this is the second step of reproduction, which is fertilization. Let's repeat. Reproduction happens in steps. A pollinator moves a pollen grain from the male anther to the female stigma. During fertilization, the pollen grain presents a pollen tube and produces sperms. When a sperm meets an ovule, will have a seed. These seeds, when planted in the soil, will grow into a new plant. So this way, one plant were produced, it made seeds, and these seeds turn into new other plants. This is called reproduction, but which kind of reproduction is this? It's asexual reproduction, since this kind of reproduction needs both female reproductive organ and male reproductive organ. The male reproductive organ produces the pollen. The pollen will be moved to the female reproductive organ holding the ovules. When the sperms produced by the pollen grains meet the ovules, will have seeds. But do plants reproduce in another way? Do they all reproduce as asexually? Let's see. So Miss Fatin tried this at home. She planted one strawberry plant in her garden. Few months later, she noticed that she has 4 strawberry plants in the garden. How did this happen? The strawberry plant reproduced by forming runners. I will color the runners in yellow. Runners are above ground stems that grow horizontally and produce new plants at nodes. So, the strawberry plant were produced without the production of seeds, and the new plants were obtained from the stem of the mother plant. The mother plant gave 3 new plants using the stem of the plant called the runner. This is what we call asexual reproduction. It does not require the use of the male reproductive organ and the female reproductive organ. So you know now, there are 2 types of reproduction: sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. The reproduction of flowering plants requires the use of the stamens and the pistils. Sexual reproduction is the union of the pollen with the female egg. And sexual reproduction goes in steps from pollination to fertilization. What about the asexual reproduction? In some plants, we obtain a new plant from an organ of the plant. It can be a root, a stem, a leaf. This seedless reproduction is an asexual reproduction called vegetative multiplication or vegetative propagation. There are different types of vegetative reproduction in plants. I will start with the first one, growing from runners like we saw in the strawberry case. The strawberry plant reproduces asexually by forming runners. These are the runners, which are above ground stems. They grow horizontally and they produce new plants at nodes. Another type of vegetative reproduction is, I will take the example of the iris plant, this beautiful plant. So, rhizomes are underground stems that grow horizontally also near the soil surface. Roots and buds develop at the nodes and grow into new plants. So the iris plant is one of the plants that grow from rhizomes. Rhizomes again are underground stems that grow near the soil, and then these rhizomes will grow into new plants. Another type of reproduction, vegetative reproduction, is growing from cuttings. Some plants can be reproduced from a cut-off piece of stem with few leaves. We put a piece of the stem with some leaves, and when the cutting is placed in soil, it grows into a new plant, like the geranium plant, or in this case, we can see the mint plant. So, the piece placed in the soil or in water is called a cutting. Some plants can reproduce with just a stem and a leaf placed in soil or in water, like I said, the geranium plant. Last type of reproduction, vegetative reproduction, is growing from tubers. Tubers, like potatoes, are underground stems that are fat because they store food. If we cut the eye, the sprouting eye of a potato and we place it in the soil, a new potato plant will be produced. So that's what we call growing from tuber, and the potato plant grows this way. So I will repeat. We have 4 different types of vegetative reproduction. We're talking now about plants that don't use flowers and seeds to reproduce. They use pieces of the plant to reproduce. Growing from runners, in this case, the above ground stems, which are the runners, grow horizontally and produce new plants on the nodes. Second, growing from rhizomes. Rhizomes are underground stems that grow near the soil and grow into new plants. Here we took the example of the iris plant. 3. Growing from cuttings. We cut off a piece of the plant. It's usually a stem with some leaves. We place it in soil or in the water, and this cutting will grow into a new plant. 4. Growing from tubers, and we took the potato plant as an example. When the eye of a potato plant, the sprouting eye of a potato plant is placed in the soil, it will grow into a new plant. So that's it for today. We have 2 types of plant reproduction: sexual reproduction, asexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction requires or needs the use of the female reproductive organ and the male reproductive organ. It happens when a sperm produced by a pollen grain meets an ovule found in the ovary of a flower. This is the sexual reproduction. In the asexual reproduction, no need for the female and the male organ. It's just a piece of the plant that gives new other plants. Give examples of plants that reproduce asexually and specify which plant part helps it reproduce. Yellow. The strawberry plant. New strawberry plants grow from runners. Runners are above ground stems that grow horizontally and produce new plants at nodes. The iris plant. New plants grow from rhizomes. Rhizomes are underground stems that grow near the soil surface into new plants. New geranium plants grow from stem cuttings. Like we took the example of the mint plant. We cut off a piece of the stem with some leaves. We place them in the soil or in water. This cutting will grow into a new plant. This is the geranium plant. New potato plants grow from tubers. Tubers are fat underground stems. These stems are a fat because they store food. When we cut the sprouting eye of the tuber and place it in the soil, a new potato plant will be produced. So again, asexual reproduction happens when we get new plants using the plant's parts. No need for the flowers. We cut a piece of the plant and then we get new plants. Or the stems of the plant give or make new plants. That's it for today. If you still have any questions about the lesson, feel free to ask me. I'm always available. Bye bye, dear ones.